Late at night, YN is sitting in her dimly lit apartment overseas, curled up on the couch, phone pressed to her ear. Minho's voice is warm, familiar just like always. YN. Soft chuckle. I swear, Minho, every time we talk, it feels like I never even left. Same old you, same old me. Minho. Maybe that's a good thing. Some things shouldn't change, right? YN. Yeah, I like that. I like that we're still us. She leans back, staring at the ceiling, her heart light. Minho is her home, even from miles away. Minho. So, how's everything there? Are you still drowning in projects? YN. Don't even remind me. You know, I thought moving abroad meant a little freedom, but my CEO must have a personal vendetta against me. Minho. Chuckles. You always complain, but you still ace everything. Overachiever. YN. Someone has to make up for your laziness. Minho. Hey, I work hard too, you know. YN. Oh yeah. What's the hardest thing you did today? Minho. Held my coffee cup for a solid 5 minutes before actually taking a sip. Does that count? YN laughs, shaking her head. YN. Unbelievable. Minho. But you love me anyway. A pause. A comfortable silence. The kind of silence that feels full instead of empty. YN. Softly. Yeah. I do. Minho. I know. The call lingers for a few more minutes before they say their good nights. Everything feels normal. Everything feels right. A few days later, YN calls Minho like always, but this time, his tone feels different, subtly distant. YN. Hey, I feel like we haven't talked properly in days. What's up? Minho. Yeah, sorry about that. I've been kind of busy. YN. Busy? Since when do you ever get too busy for me? Minho. Since life decided to throw a bunch of things at me all at once. YN. What things? Silence. It lasts a second too long. YN shifts uncomfortably. Minho. Just, family stuff. You know how it is. YN. Family stuff. You usually tell me everything, Minho. Minho. I know. I don't want to burden you with things that don't matter. YN. Don't matter. If it's important to you, it matters to me too. Minho. Quieter. I know. I just need a little time. A weight settles in In's chest. This wasn't like him. He had always been the one to share every little thing with her. What changed? YN. Okay, I won't push. But you'll tell me when you're ready, right? Minho. Yeah, of course. But the way he says it, it doesn't feel like a promise. Another few days pass. Their calls grow shorter. Minho stops calling first. YN starts counting the hours between his replies. Finally, one evening, she calls him again. This time, his voice sounds drained. Minho. Hey, YN. Hey, that's all I get. Not even a, hey, love, or, missed you, babe, or something cheesy like that. Minho. Sorry, my head's all over the place. YN. You're still busy. Minho. Yeah, YN. Minho. Minho. YN. YN. Don't lie to me. Tell me what's going on. YN. Don't lie to me. Tell me what's going on. Minho sighs. She can hear the hesitation in his breath. Minho. Can we talk about this later? YN. Later. Minho. What's happening? You're pulling away from me, and I don't even know why. Minho. It's not like that. YN. Then what is it? Because I'm here, holding on to whatever's left of us, and you. Minho, firmly, almost desperate. YN. Please. Not right now. The words hit her like a wall. She falls silent. YN. Okay, fine. The house is warm and softly lit, a familiar sight that brings a smile to In's face. She stands outside the front door, gripping her suitcase, excitement bubbling in her chest. She had planned everything. She'd surprise them, hug them, and then later, she'd see Minho and scold him for being so distant lately. Maybe she'd even make him grovel a little for ignoring her calls. Taking a deep breath, she steps inside. The house smells the same home. She can already hear voices coming from the living room. A slow smile creeps onto her lips as she walks forward, expecting a joyful reunion. But then she stops. The air leaves her lungs. The scene before her doesn't make sense. Minho is sitting on the couch, his arm draped casually over Hannah's shoulders. She's leaning into him, laughing softly. His fingers brush against her hair, tucking it behind her ear in that familiar, intimate way, her way. The way he used to do with her. In's suitcase slips from her fingers, the small sound echoing loudly in the room. Hannah. Startled, turning around. YN. Minho tenses immediately, his hand freezing mid-motion. He looks up, meeting Yin's wide, disbelieving eyes. There's a split second of silence where no one breathes. Yin, hoarse, barely above a whisper, what is this? Laughs bitterly, no, really. Someone explain this to me. Because I must be dreaming. Minho, softly, Yin, shaking her head, voice rising, no, you don't get to look at me like that. You don't get to sit there, holding her, while I stand here like some outsider. Hannah looks away. Yin, voice breaking, Minho. Say something. Minho, quietly, it's not what you think. Yin, stunned, laughing dryly, oh, really? Because it looks exactly like what I think. I leave for a few months, and I come back to find my boyfriend all cozy with my sister. How does that not mean what I think? Minho clenches his jaw, rubbing a hand over his face. He looks exhausted, but Yin doesn't care. She wants the truth. She deserves it. Yin, tell me. Right now, tell me what's happening. Minho hesitates, then exhales deeply. I married Hannah. The words hit her harder than any slap ever could. The room blurs. The walls feel like they're closing in. Yin, what? Minho, Hannah is sick. Yin. Silence. The words hang in the air, suffocating her. Yin, laughing in disbelief, that's your explanation. She's sick, so you married her. Minho, quietly, I had to. Yin, glaring at him, voice trembling, had to. Minho, I didn't want you to find out this way. Yin, voice rising, raw with pain, and how exactly did you want me to find out, Minho? Were you ever going to tell me? Or were you planning to just let me come back and figure it out on my own just like this? Minho looks away. That's all the answer she needs. Yin swallows hard, trying to keep herself from crumbling. Yin, shaking her head, laughing bitterly, and all this time, you were still talking to me. Still acting like everything was normal. Minho flinches. Yin, whispers, voice breaking, why? Minho, softly, almost desperately, because I couldn't lose you too. Yin, coldly, you already did. She turns toward Hannah, eyes burning with unshed tears. Yin, voice shaking with anger, you took everything from me. Since we were kids, it was always you. Mom and Dad always put you first. I never said anything, I let it go, every single time. But this, Hannah, whispers, guilty, I didn't mean to. Yin, furious, don't tell me you didn't mean to. You took the one thing that was mine. Just then, their parents step into the room, drawn by the raised voices. Mother. Yin, what is going on? Yin, laughs bitterly, throwing her hands up, oh, I don't know, Mom. Maybe ask your precious Hannah. Ask her why my boyfriend is now her husband. Father, sternly, that's enough. Yin. Mother. Softer, Hannah is sick. Please don't make this harder than it already is. Yin stares at them, realization hitting her like a knife to the chest. Yin, of course, you'd take her side. Father, it's not about sides. Yin, isn't it? Because you're all standing here acting like I don't even have a right to be angry. Like I should just accept this and smile, because what? Because she's sick. No one answers. That silence breaks her more than anything else. She exhales shakily, blinking back tears. Yin, softly, voice cracking, I'm breaking right in front of you, and none of you even care. Yin, whispers, voice trembling, did you make her pregnant, because she is sick? Minho inhales sharply. He knew this question was coming, but hearing it aloud so raw, so broken knocks the air from his lungs. Minho, softly, Yin, suddenly turns to him, her eyes burning with unshed tears, answer me. Yin, voice cracking, tell me, Minho. Did you hold her the same way you held me? Did you whisper the same words in her ear? Did you love her the way you loved me? Minho, pleading, it wasn't like that. Yin, bitter laugh, shaking her head, it wasn't like that. Then what was it? Duty, responsibility, pity. Yin, laughs dryly, wiping her tears, do you know what hurts the most? Not that you married her. Not even that she's pregnant with your child. Yin, it's that even when you knew you had already lost me, you still pretended I mattered. Minho, softly, you do matter. Yin, shaking her head, voice hollow, no, Minho. If I mattered, you wouldn't have let me find out like this. Yin, tell me one thing, and tell me the truth this time. Minho, Yin, when you were with her, did you ever think about me? Did you ever feel guilty? Minho's throat tightens. He looks at her, eyes filled with regret, and nods. Minho. Every day. YN lets out a shaky breath. But it's not enough. Regret is not love, and guilt is not an excuse. YN. Then why wasn't that enough to stop you? Hannah sits on the couch, looking up at her with wide, fragile eyes that have always won their parents' sympathy. The very same eyes that had taken everything from YN, over and over again. But this time, YN won't swallow her pain. She won't stay silent. YN, you always do this. You always take what's mine. Hannah. Softly. YN. YN. Voice rising, years of bottled up emotions exploding at once. No. Don't say my name like that. Don't look at me like you're innocent. YN. God, you've always had this talent, haven't you? Playing the victim. Stealing from me and making me look like the bad guy when I finally react. YN. From the moment we were kids, it was always you. The perfect daughter. The one everyone worried about. I had to be strong. I had to be independent because Hannah needed more attention. Hannah was sensitive. Hannah needed protecting. Her voice breaks, but she doesn't stop. YN. And I let it go. Every damn time, I let it go. When you got the bigger birthday parties, when you got to cry and be comforted while I had to wipe my own tears, when you got everything I wanted because you were always the delicate one. Hannah. Barely a whisper. I never wanted to hurt you. YN. Soft, bitter smile, but you did. She steps back, looking at her sister one last time. YN. And you always will. With that, YN turns away, leaving Hannah sitting there staring at the space YN left behind, knowing deep down, she might never fill it again. A sleek, modern office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. YN sits at her massive desk, reviewing reports, her presence commanding and confident. Her secretary, Jisoo, enters, holding a tablet. Jisoo. Congratulations, CEO. You did it. YN. Without looking up, still focused on the papers. Did what? Jisoo. You're officially on the cover of Forbes. YN. The young CEO who built an empire from nothing. YN finally looks up, amusement flickering in her eyes as she takes the tablet from Jisoo and scans the headline. Her picture is bold and striking, powerful, untouchable. A far cry from the broken girl who once walked away from everything. YN. Soft chuckle. Funny. A few years ago, they wouldn't have even remembered my name. Jisoo. Well, now they don't just remember it, they fear it. YN leans back in her chair, tapping her pen against the desk, deep in thought. YN. You know, when I first started this company, people doubted me. Investors didn't take me seriously. Competitors underestimated me. Even my own family thought I was just running away from my problems. Jisoo. And now, YN. Now, they have no choice but to acknowledge me. Jisoo. Speaking of family. Jisoo. Your father called. Again. YN. Her expression hardens, voice neutral. And. Jisoo. He wants to meet your mother too. YN. Let me guess. They suddenly remember they have another daughter. Jisoo. Carefully. Maybe they finally realize what they lost. YN. Laughs, cold and sharp. No. They realize what they need. And I'm willing to bet it's not me, it's my success. She tosses the tablet onto the desk, standing up. She walks over to the window, gazing at the city she built herself in. YN. Years. Years I spent trying to be good enough for them. Trying to earn their love, their attention. And when I finally stopped trying, when I finally walked away and built something for myself, now they want to talk. Jisoo. Softly. Are you going to meet them? YN. I don't know yet. She turns back, her expression unreadable. YN. But one thing's for sure. I'm not the same girl who left that house crying. And if they think they can manipulate me again, they're in for a rude awakening. Jisoo. YN. I know you hate hearing this, but today's my last day. YN. Without looking up. I know. I just don't want to accept it. Jisoo. You can't avoid it forever. You need a new secretary. Someone competent. Someone who can keep up with you. YN. Scoffs, finally glancing up. That's the problem. Who can keep up with me? You've seen the applicants. Half of them don't even know the difference between a revenue report and a balance sheet. Jungkook walks in tall, confident, sharp in a perfectly tailored suit. His gaze is steady and respectful. Jungkook. Nods slightly. Miss YN. YN. Studying him carefully. You're Jungkook. Jungkook. Yes. JEONJUNKKOOK. YN leans back, tapping her pen against her desk as she glances at his resume. YN. Impressive credentials. You worked under CEO Park at Titan Enterprises. Jungkook. Yes. 3 years as his executive assistant. Before that, I worked in financial consulting. YN. And why did you leave? Jungkook. Because I wanted to work for someone with vision. YN. Raises an eyebrow. Flattery won't get you this job. Jungkook. It's not flattery. It's fact. A beat. YN tilts her head slightly, intrigued by his unwavering confidence. YN. You know this position isn't just about making coffee and scheduling meetings, right? Jungkook. I'm aware. You need someone who can anticipate problems before they happen, manage crises without waiting for instruction, and protect your time like it's their own. YN smirks slightly. Finally, someone who gets it. YN. And if I'm difficult to work with? Jungkook. Then I'll adapt. YN. And if I test your patience? Jungkook. Without hesitation, then I'll remind myself that patience is a skill, not a weakness. For the first time in a long time, YN feels something close to amusement. She closes the folder, looking directly at him. YN. You're hired. Jisoo blinks, surprised at how fast the decision was made. Jisoo. That's it. YN. Standing up, offering Jungkook a firm handshake. That's it. Welcome to the company, Mr. Jeon. Let's see if you can keep up. Jungkook shakes her hand, his grip steady, his eyes never leaving hers. Jungkook. I intend to. Jungkook. Calmly, your parents want to meet you. YN. Without looking up, voice indifferent, not interested. Jungkook. They've been calling. They even contacted the board, trying to reach you through them. YN. Flipping a page, unaffected, let them try. Jungkook. Watching her carefully, avoiding them won't make them disappear. YN. Finally looking up, her tone sharp, did I hire you to give me life advice? Jungkook. No, you hired me to manage your schedule, which includes filtering messages. But when the messages keep coming, it becomes my concern. YN. Leaning back, studying him with cold amusement, and what? You think you're going to convince me to meet them? Jungkook. No, that's your decision, I'm just asking why. YN. Voice cool, almost mocking, why? You want to play therapist now? Or maybe a hero, fix the estranged daughter situation? Jungkook. Don't want to fix anything. I just think people don't usually cut off their families without a reason. YN. Her eyes darken, but her expression remains unreadable, and you assume my reason isn't good enough. Jungkook. I assume it's painful enough that you refuse to even hear them out. A silence stretches between them. YN taps her fingers against her desk, expression unreadable. YN. Jungkook. Jungkook. Yes, ma'am. YN. Slowly, voice dripping with warning, you are my secretary. Not my friend, not my confidant, not someone who gets to ask questions about my personal life. You schedule meetings, filter emails, and ensure my time isn't wasted. That's it. After 3 months, late night in In's office past working hours. The city skyline glows through the glass windows, casting a dim light inside. Papers are neatly stacked on the desk, and the soft hum of a computer fills the silence. Across from her, Jungkook sits, typing away, sleeves rolled up, eyes focused. YN. Pretending to check documents, stealing a glance at him, you're slow today. Jungkook. Without looking up, calm, I'm efficient, not slow. There's a difference. YN. Leans back in her chair, spinning her pen between her fingers. Seems like an excuse. Jungkook. Smirks slightly but doesn't take the bait. If I was slow, we'd still be buried under paperwork from 3 hours ago. YN. Tilts her head, watching him closely. I could have hired anyone else, you know. But I hired you. Jungkook. Finally looks up, meeting her gaze because I'm the best at what I do. YN. Smirks lightly, amused, confident. Jungkook. Nods always. A silence lingers. In's fingers tap against the desk rhythmically. She should dismiss him. It's late. But she doesn't. YN. You're not tired? Jungkook. No, are you? YN. Shrugs, eyes still on him. If I was, would I still be here? Jungkook. You could leave. You're the CEO. YN. And let my secretary slack off. Never. Jungkook exhales a soft chuckle, shaking his head slightly. Jungkook. You like making me work overtime, don't you? YN. Pretending to be indifferent. If I did, would you complain? Jungkook. Leans back slightly, studying her now. No. But I'd ask why. YN. Mocking tone, because I'm the CEO, and I can. Jungkook. That's the official reason. What's the real one? For a split second, she pauses. The answer is there, hovering between them, but she doesn't acknowledge it. Instead, she sighs dramatically. YN, maybe I just like competent people around me. Unlike the rest, you don't waste my time. Jungkook leans forward slightly, elbows resting on his knees, or maybe you just don't want to be alone. Her fingers still against the desk. Her smirk fades, just a little. He watches her, waiting. YN, you talk too much for a secretary. Jungkook, and you keep me here for hours no reason. YN, who says it's for no reason? Silence. YN knows she should end this conversation, send him home, act as if none of this is different. But it is different. She likes having him here. His presence, his voice, his sharp wit, it's become something she doesn't mind lingering around. YN, after a moment, sighs and waves a hand. Fine. Go home. Jungkook, finally showing mercy. YN, don't get used to it. Jungkook stands, gathering his things. As he reaches the door, he pauses, glancing back. Jungkook, you don't have to keep finding excuses to make me stay. In's breath catches slightly, but she masks it with a smirk. YN, and you don't have to pretend you don't enjoy it. He chuckles under his breath before nodding slightly, finally leaving. The door clicks shut, and YN exhales, leaning back in her chair, staring at the empty seat across from her. She tells herself it's just convenience. But deep down, she knows this is no longer just about work. A luxurious business gala in a grand hotel ballroom. The atmosphere is filled with elegant chandeliers gleaming, champagne glasses clinking, and live jazz playing softly in the background. YN, dressed in a stunning black dress, stands confidently near the bar, scanning the crowd. Then, she spots him, Jungkook, standing in a circle of beautiful women, laughing, his dimples on full display. YN, narrowing her eyes, mumbling to herself, oh, so my secretary is suddenly Mr. Popular. Look at him, smiling like he's in a toothpaste commercial. Bartender. Would you like another, ma'am? YN, placing the glass down with a loud thud, keep them coming. Several drinks later, YN is still glaring at Jungkook while dramatically sipping her wine. When Jungkook finally turns and notices her, his brows furrow. He excuses himself and walks over. Jungkook, chuckling, you've been staring at me for the past 15 minutes. Something on my face, boss. YN, huffing, crossing her arms, oh, no. I was just observing my secretary multitasking. Amazing, really, who knew being charming was also in your job description? Jungkook, smirking, leaning on the bar beside her, I didn't know you were the jealous type, Miss YN. YN, scoffs, pointing at him with her nearly empty glass, jealous. Me, PFF'd. Don't flatter yourself, Jungkook. I was just making sure you weren't slacking off. As your boss, it's my duty to supervise. Jungkook, amused, tilting his head, supervise. With 4 glasses of champagne. YN, pausing, then lifting her chin defiantly, it's called multitasking, Jungkook. I do it better than you. Before she can finish her words, she takes another sip but miscalculates and nearly spills it on her dress. Jungkook, quick as ever, gently takes the glass from her hand. Jungkook, laughing softly, all right, boss. I think your supervision needs a break before you start spilling corporate secrets along with your wine. YN, pouting, poking his chest, you're lucky you're cute. Otherwise, I would fire you right now. Jungkook, grinning, teasingly, you think I'm cute? YN, gasping dramatically, eyes wide, who said that? I didn't say that. You must be hearing things, Secretary Jeon. She suddenly stumbles a little, and Jungkook instinctively catches her, one hand steadying her waist. YN looks up at him, blinking slowly. YN, whispering, pouting, you smell nice, but that doesn't mean I forgive you for flirting with those women. Jungkook, raising an eyebrow, smirking, I wasn't flirting. I was making business connections. YN, leaning in slightly, her voice hushed like she's sharing a secret, lies. All lies. You smiled too much. No one smiles that much for business. Jungkook chuckles, wrapping an arm securely around her. Jungkook. Okay, boss. Time to get you out of here before you start giving a TED talk on why I shouldn't smile. YN, mumbling as he guides her toward the exit, your dimples are dangerous. They should be illegal, making my heart do weird things, so unfair. Jungkook shakes his head, amused, as he helps her into the car. As he buckles her seatbelt, she suddenly pokes his cheek. YN. Grinning sleepily, Jungkook. Jungkook. Smiling patiently, yeah. YN. Whispering like she's telling a top-secret fact, I might like you more than a secretary. Jungkook. Pausing for a second before smirking, good to know, boss. Good to know. YN leans her head back against the seat, eyes fluttering shut as Jungkook chuckles to himself, starting the car. The night had turned out far more interesting than he expected. After a few days, In's office late evening, the city lights glow through the large windows, casting a soft hue inside. YN sits at her desk, reviewing documents, while Jungkook stands near the door, arms crossed, watching her with a thoughtful expression. Jungkook. Softly sighs YN, they came to the office again today. YN doesn't even look up from her papers, flipping a page with deliberate disinterest. YN. And, did you tell security to send them away? Jungkook. Leaning against the desk, watching her carefully, I spoke to them. In's hand tightens around her pen for a second, but she quickly relaxes. YN. Good for you. I hope they didn't waste too much of your time. Jungkook. They weren't here to waste time. They were here because they're worried about you. YN. Letting out a sarcastic laugh, finally looking up at him, oh, so now they're worried. Now they care. Where was all that concern when I needed it? Jungkook. YN, I get it. I do. But avoiding them like this, it's not going to change the past. YN. Leaning back in her chair, crossing her arms and seeing them won't change it either. What do you expect me to do, Jungkook? Run into their arms and pretend everything is fine. Jungkook. Meeting her gaze, voice steady, no. But maybe you should give them a chance to explain. YN. Shaking her head, a bitter smile forming, explain what? That they've always put Hannah first. That they never once considered how I felt. That even when I left to build my own life, they still found a way to hurt me. Jungkook. You're right, they've made mistakes. A lot of them, and I'm not saying they deserve your forgiveness. But, ignoring them is clearly not making them go away. YN. Oh, believe me, I've noticed. Stalking me at work now. That's a new low. Jungkook. It's not stalking. It's desperation. They don't know how else to reach you. YN. Maybe that's because they never bothered to learn how to reach me in the first place. A heavy silence fills the room. Jungkook watches her, his eyes filled with understanding but also determination. Jungkook. YN, you're strong. You've built a life that doesn't depend on them. But that doesn't mean facing them will make you weak. In's expression falters for a second. She looks away, her fingers tracing the edge of a document absent-mindedly. Jungkook. I'm not telling you to forgive them. I'm not telling you to forget. But I am telling you to face them. Because right now, they still have control over you, just in a different way. YN. Control. Jungkook. Nodding, yes. You think you're keeping them out of your life, but they still affect you. You still get angry when you hear their names. You still react when they show up. That means they still hold power over you. YN. And what, meeting them will fix that? Jungkook. Shrugs, maybe not. But it'll take back your power. You decide how the conversation goes. You decide what you want to say. And when it's over, at least, you'll know you faced them on your terms. YN. I hate that you make sense sometimes. Jungkook. Grinning slightly, it's part of my job, boss. Being an excellent secretary and all. YN rolls her eyes but can't hide the small, reluctant smile that tugs at her lips. She finally looks up at him. YN. Sighing, fine. I'll think about it. Jungkook. Thinking about it doesn't mean doing it. YN. Watch it, Jeon. Don't push your luck. Jungkook. Chuckling, raising his hands in surrender, noted, boss. Noted. A private lounge in a high-end restaurant. YN sits stiffly on the couch, her arms crossed, an impassive look on her face. Across from her, her parents sit anxiously, exchanging glances. Jungkook stands beside her, his hands in his pockets, observing quietly. The air is thick with tension. In's father clears his throat, voice gentle but strained. YN, we've been trying to reach you. We needed to see you. YN, really? Because last I checked, you ignored me just fine for years. In's mother, sighing, pressing a hand to her chest. Don't talk like that, YN. We're still your parents. YN, tilting her head, voice sharp but calm. Oh. Now I'm your daughter. Because when Hannah needed something, I was just invisible. Pauses, then with an emotionless chuckle. All right then. Say whatever you came here to say. Her father hesitates, but her mother speaks first. In's mother. Sounding pitiful, her eyes watery. Hannah's child is not well. YN. Expression unchanged and. In's father. We need financial help. YN. The medical bills are too much, and we thought maybe. YN. Cutting him off, turning to Jungkook with a smirk. Jungkook, didn't I say it? They aren't here to talk to me. They're here to ask for money. Shaking her head, voice cold. Jungkook, I know my parents better than everyone. Jungkook's jaw tightens, his sharp gaze flickering between YN and her parents. Her mother's face turns red with frustration. In's mother. Angrily, how can you say that? We're suffering, YN. You're successful now, yet you refuse to help your family. YN. Letting out a dry laugh. Family. You mean the same family that left me behind every time Hannah needed something? The same family that didn't care if I was struggling, as long as Hannah was fine. Mocking. Now suddenly, I'm important. In's father. Softly, trying to sound reasonable. YN, it's not like that. You have to understand, Hannah. YN. Coldly, eyes sharp. Hannah. It's always about Hannah. Crosses her arms. I used to think if I worked hard enough, if I became someone, you'd finally see me. Care for me, but no. Even now, all that matters is her. In's mother. Voice rising, furious. YN. Stop acting like a child. You're being selfish, raising her hand to slap her. A sharp movement. A hand catches her wrist midair. Silence falls like a heavy curtain. Jungkook. His voice dangerously low, eyes dark. No, his grip firm but controlled before he slowly lets go. In's mother stares at him in shock, her face twisting in disbelief. Jungkook. Calm but ice cold. You say you care about her. That you miss her, but the second she sits down, all you do is ask for money. Where exactly is the care in that? In's parents are silent, her mother's lips tremble, but no words come out. Jungkook. You didn't ask how she's been. You didn't ask if she's okay. You didn't even hesitate before demanding money. Pauses, then scoffs slightly. Was this really a reunion? Or just another transaction? YN watches her parents, waiting. But they say nothing. No apologies. No guilt. Just silence. YN. Softly, voice like a whisper of finality. This was a mistake. She stands up, her expression unreadable. Jungkook follows, his presence steady beside her. YN. One last glance at them, voice devoid of emotion. Don't contact me again. I don't owe you anything. And with that, she walks away, this time, not looking back. Late night. In's office. Jungkook. You should take a break. YN. Without looking up, still typing. I will. Later. Jungkook. Sighs, stepping forward. That's what you said 3 hours ago. YN. Finally looks up, tired but amused. Are you my secretary or my babysitter? Jungkook. Depends. Which one gets a raise? YN chuckles, shaking her head before leaning back in her chair. For a moment, silence lingers between them, comfortable yet charged. A grand business gala, chandeliers glittering overhead, soft jazz playing in the background. YN stands near the bar, her champagne untouched. But her attention is across the room on Jungkook. He's surrounded by 3 elegantly dressed women, charming them effortlessly. Her grip tightens around the glass. In's growing annoyance. YN. Muttering to herself, crossing her arms. Didn't know my secretary's job description included entertaining women at parties. She takes a deep breath, looking away, but her eyes betray her and flicker back only to find one of the women touching Jungkook's arm. Her jaw clenches. Without thinking, she grabs a glass of whiskey from a passing waiter and downs it. Taehyung. Noticing her expression, smirking. You know, if you glare any harder, Jungkook might spontaneously combust. YN. Rolling her eyes, setting the empty glass down. I don't know what you're talking about. Taehyung. Chuckles, sipping his wine. Right. That's why you just threw back whiskey like it was water. YN ignores him, but when Jungkook suddenly bursts into laughter at something one of the women says, her patience snaps. She turns back to the bar. YN. To the bartender. Another. No, actually, just leave the bottle. A while later, Jungkook glances toward the bar. He spots YN laughing too loudly at something Taehyung just said, her cheeks flushed from alcohol. His brows furrow. Excusing himself from the women, he strides toward her. Jungkook. Standing beside her, arms crossed, having fun. YN. Tilting her head, smiling up at him too sweetly. Oh, look who decided to show up. Mr. Popular himself. Jungkook. Raising an eyebrow, glancing at the half-empty whiskey bottle. How much did you drink? YN. Enough to not care about a certain secretary flirting all night. Jungkook. Wait, are you jealous? YN. Scoffs, placing a dramatic hand on her chest. Jealous? Me, please, Jungkook. I was just observing. Jungkook. Chuckling, leaning closer. Right. Just observing. YN tries to step away, but her intoxicated state betrays her, and she stumbles slightly. Jungkook catches her by the waist, steadying her. Jungkook. Softly, amused. Careful, boss. Can't have you falling for me literally. YN. I don't need your help, secretary. Jungkook. Sure you don't. Just like you weren't staring at me all night. YN. Glaring, grabbing another drink. I hate you. Jungkook. Leaning in, voice low, teasing but with an edge of sincerity. Funny. Because I think I'm starting to fall for you. YN freezes. She looks up at him, eyes slightly widened. Jungkook watches her, waiting, as if daring her to brush it off. But before she can react, Jungkook takes the drink from her hand and sets it aside. YN. Hey, I was drinking that. Before she can finish, Jungkook cups her face and presses his lips against hers. It's slow at first, teasing, like he's waiting for her to push him away. But she doesn't. Instead, her hands clutch his shirt, pulling him closer. The taste of whiskey lingers between them, mixed with something sweeter, something forbidden yet undeniable. The moment stretches, time slowing as the noise of the party fades into the background. When they finally break apart, Jungkook's forehead rests against hers, his breath warm against her lips. Jungkook. Whispering, smirking slightly. Still hate me? YN. Flustered, breathless, but refusing to lose the last word. Ask me when I'm sober. Jungkook chuckles, his grip on her tightening slightly as if he doesn't want to let go. After the unexpected kiss at the gala, Jungkook had no choice but to take YN home with him. She was completely drunk, barely able to stand, and when he asked for her address, she only giggled and poked his cheek, refusing to answer. Now, she's in his apartment, half conscious but stubborn as ever. Jungkook unlocks his door, carefully guiding YN inside. She stumbles, laughing at nothing, and clings to his arm. YN. Giggling, looking around. Whoa, is this where you live? It's so, pauses, squinting. So neat. I thought you'd be messy. Jungkook. Rolling his eyes, closing the door behind them. And I thought you'd be better at holding your alcohol. YN pouts dramatically, swaying slightly. Jungkook sighs and grabs her shoulders, steadying her. Jungkook. Come on, let's get you to the couch. He guides her to sit, but the moment he lets go, she grabs his tie, pulling him closer. Jungkook nearly falls over, his hands bracing against the couch on either side of her. YN. Smirking, looking up at him with hooded eyes. You're so handsome, you know that. Jungkook. What? YN. Giggling, poking his chest. So strong. And your lips. Her fingers lightly trace his lips, making him tense up. I bet all those girls at the party were dying to kiss you. Jungkook. YN, you're drunk. YN. Leaning in, whispering, and you're cute when you're nervous. Jungkook pulls back slightly, but she tightens her grip on his tie, bringing him closer again. YN. Sulking, pouting. Why are you avoiding me? You kissed me first, remember? Or did you forget? Jungkook. Exhaling, rubbing the back of his neck. I didn't forget. But you're not in your right mind right now. YN. Smirking, tilting her head. So. What if I want you right now? Jungkook stiffens as she slides her hands up his chest, fingers grazing the collar of his shirt. Her touch is light, teasing, but he knows she's not thinking straight. He catches her wrists gently, stopping her. Jungkook. YN. You're drunk. And I don't want you, like this. YN. What do you mean, like this? Jungkook. I want you when you know what you're doing. When you actually mean it. For a moment, she just stares at him. Then, her expression softens almost as if she understands, even in her drunken state. Her fingers loosen on his tie, and she sighs. YN. Murmuring, eyes fluttering shut. You're annoying. Before he can respond, she suddenly flops onto him, completely knocked out. Jungkook barely manages to catch her, shaking his head with a helpless chuckle. Jungkook carefully lifts her, carrying her to his bedroom. He places her gently on the bed, pulling the blanket over her. He watches her for a moment, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Jungkook. Whispering to himself, smiling softly. What am I going to do with you, boss? He turns off the lights, grabbing a spare pillow and heading to sleep on the couch. But even as he lays down, he can't help but smile, shaking his head. This woman was going to be the death of him. Morning light filters into the room. YN groans, shifting slightly, her head pounding. The unfamiliar bed, the faint scent of cologne, the crisp sheets. This isn't her home. Panic flickers in her chest as she sits up too fast, only for dizziness to hit her like a truck. YN, muttering, confused. Where? Then, the memories flood in. The party, the drinks, the jealousy, Jungkook, and then YN, suddenly gasping, eyes widening in horror. No way. She clutches her head, shaking it as if trying to erase the images from her mind. But it's there, Jungkook's lips. On hers. The warmth, the taste of alcohol, his grip on her waist. The way he looked at her before closing the distance. YN, muttering aggressively to herself, I'm going to kill him. As if summoned by her fury, Jungkook walks into the room, holding a glass of water. He looks surprisingly relaxed for someone who betrayed every rule of professionalism by kissing his boss. Jungkook, you're awake, drink this. YN doesn't take it. She just glares at him. YN, Jungkook, yes, boss. YN, you kissed me. Jungkook, yeah, I did. YN, in disbelief, voice rising, you knew I was drunk. Jungkook, I did. YN, and you still kissed me. Jungkook, softly, voice more serious, yeah, I did. YN freezes. She wasn't expecting him to admit it so easily. She expected excuses, justifications, anything but this calm, unshaken honesty. YN, huffing, looking away, flustered, unbelievable. You, Jungkook, interrupting, smirking again, you were staring at me all night, you know. YN, snapping her gaze back to him, horrified, I was not. Jungkook, chuckling, tilting his head, you were. YN, defensive, crossing her arms, I was drunk. It doesn't count. Jungkook, nodding slowly, teasing, right. And when you whispered my name before I kissed you, was that the alcohol too? YN, gritting her teeth, trying to regain control, listen, what happened last night? Never again. Got it. Jungkook, raising an eyebrow, amused, you sure about that? YN, exasperated, throwing a pillow at him, Jungkook. He catches the pillow effortlessly, laughing. She hates how attractive he looks while doing it. She hates that he doesn't look regretful. But more than anything, she hates that a small part of her doesn't regret it either. Jungkook, I wasn't that drunk. YN, In's breath catches. Her fingers tighten around the fabric. YN, what does that mean? Jungkook, it means I knew exactly what I was doing. Anyway, you should eat. Your hangover is making you even grumpier than usual. YN glares at him, snapping out of her daze. YN, grumbling, still flustered, I hate you. Jungkook, grinning as he walks away, liar. YN throws another pillow at him. This time, he doesn't dodge. It's late evening. The city lights flicker beyond the glass windows of In's office. Jungkook, YN, she blinks up at him, surprised. He looks nervous. Jungkook is never nervous. He's always teasing, always smirking, always effortlessly confident. But right now, his hands are in his pockets, and he's shifting his weight from one foot to the other, his usual ease nowhere in sight. YN, what is it? Jungkook, I have something to say. And I want you to listen, okay? YN, okay. He takes a deep breath, as if gathering his courage. Jungkook, YN, I know I'm not rich like you. I don't own companies. I don't have power. I don't have the luxury of turning the world upside down with a single decision. He pauses, looking down for a second before meeting her eyes again, raw and unguarded. But what I do have, is my heart. And it belongs to you. YN, will you be my girlfriend? YN, whispering, uncertain, are you sure? Jungkook frowns. Jungkook, what do you mean? YN, looking away, voice hesitant, I'm not easy to love, Jungkook. I'm difficult. I'm stubborn. I push people away. Jungkook, gently, reaching out to take her hand, his touch warm and grounding, then let me be the one who stays. YN, exhaling, finally meeting his gaze, a small, almost shy smile appearing on her lips, okay. Jungkook blinks. Jungkook, surprised, as if he didn't expect her to agree so soon, okay. YN, okay. A slow grin spreads across Jungkook's face, and for the first time in a long time, YN feels something warm bloom in her chest, something terrifying, but also, comforting. Maybe, just maybe, this could be the start of something good. Balcony under the stars. Jungkook, softly, tracing the rim of his coffee cup, YN, Have you ever wanted something so much, but you were too scared to reach for it? YN. Watching him, her voice quiet all the time. Jungkook. Turning his gaze to her, eyes full of meaning. Then you know how I feel about you. YN. Swallowing, voice barely above a whisper. Jungkook. Jungkook. Let me finish. I don't have your power, your wealth, or your status. I don't have anything to offer you except myself. But if you let me, I'll love you with everything I have. YN. Whispering, hesitant but hopeful. You're such an idiot. Jungkook. Blinking, then chuckling, shaking his head fondly. Yeah. And why is that? YN. Finally meeting his eyes fully, a small, trembling smile playing on her lips. Because you think I need any of that. You think I care about money or status when it's you. Jungkook. Softly, leaning in slightly. When it's me you. YN. Can I kiss you? YN doesn't answer with words. Instead, she nods, just the slightest movement, but it's enough. Jungkook's breath hitches, his hand reaching up to cup her cheek, his thumb gently tracing her skin. He leans in, slow, hesitant, as if giving her every chance to stop him. And then their lips meet. It's soft at first, uncertain, like a question. But the moment YN leans into him, her fingers clutching the fabric of his shirt, the hesitation disappears. The kiss deepens, slow and lingering, filled with everything they never said out loud. It's warmth, it's longing, it's home. When they finally pull apart, Jungkook rests his forehead against hers, his breath uneven, his lips slightly parted in a dazed smile. Jungkook. Grinning, whispering against her lips. So, does this mean I'm officially your boyfriend? YN. Laughing softly, her fingers still resting on his chest, feeling his heartbeat against her palm. You were already mine. You just didn't know it yet. Jungkook chuckles, pressing another soft, lingering kiss to her lips, as if he can't help himself. And as the city lights twinkle around them, and the cool night air wraps around them, it's clear this moment, this love, is theirs.